Alrighty, we're going live. Starting a couple minutes early tonight, guys. Welcome to the show. I don't really have a script like I normally do, but this is episode 6 of Chiefsman's Corner. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas of the New Orleans Saints, and tonight we're going to go over a few things as we get into Week 1, Part 3 of the WFL regular season. Third time's a charm, I guess. Shrug shoulders. Hopefully we have a better setup than we did the previous 2 times. We got glitched out on our draft the first 2 led to I guess what some people said was a funny, if not interesting, rant conversation we had on the podcast. Well, the draft show turned podcast on Friday last. So I don't really have a structure here for tonight because we're just starting. We just advanced in the last hour to week 1 of the regular season. We just got finished with our off season. Well, as far as not signings, but as far as basically free agency and the like, or actually just preseason. We didn't even do free agency. It's been so many restarts, sadly, that I've kind of forgotten where we're at as far as the structure goes. These restarts have been very mentally draining, but I do want to go over a couple of things before I start in the main crux of the show, which is the first thing I want to go over is the new form I've added for chit chatting. As far as if you can't tune in live, I've introduced a new form that you can pull up. I believe I will look at it real quick as far as the CouchBot commands real quick because I believe it's just called Ask the Chief. Yeah, Ask the Chief, all one word. That's CHIEF. You can look and scroll to the top in our pinned messages in the WFL-CB commands channel. You can see the Ask the Chief form is there, and basically it's just a little form that you can fill out and submit a question that I will check during the show. I actually get email notifications on it on my phone, and the last couple that were sent for the Friday show I took care of for the most part, but obviously that was an entire franchise ago, unfortunately, so I haven't got any new questions at this point, but I did want to make sure that I go over that again. So every Wednesday at approximately 11 p.m. Eastern time. I usually try to start around 11 p.m. Eastern time. I'll get in. We'll do our show, and then at the end, if I don't see any questions there from our live audience that tunes in, I will go ahead and go through the mailbag and see what we have, if we have anything. If we don't, we'll just call it a day. We'll call it a short show. I don't know how long this show will go because, again, I don't have a huge bit of notes, but one thing I did want to go over before I started in the meat of the show, as it's going to stand tonight, is the Ask the Chief form. I want to make sure you guys are aware of that because it does count for incentive points if you submit a question that I actually take part in the show. It does count as incentive, not as much as an incentive for calling in, doing like a radio segment. I will state though, I'm gonna have to figure out OBS and figure out how it works and operates. Oh, I'm lagging a bit. Oh, I know why I'm lagging a little bit too. 1 second. That's why you get a live show. That's what happens when you're your own production assistant. I gotta get hooked up for the show. I did forget to do that. So let's get hooked up for the show. Shall we? Hopefully you guys are still around. Yeah, I'm lagging a bit. Yeah, viewers will experience issues. I know. I'm gonna fix that right now. I hope. Let's see. Yeah, I'm behind a little bit. Hopefully that fixes the issue, though. Let's see how bad I'm dropping. I'm not dropped too bad. Okay, well, I do apologize for the lag there. I may have to go through the entire show bit intro again as far as what I went over earlier because I forgot to hook up my wire for wired internet. Why do we not have internet? Come on now. I'm still connected wirelessly, so I'm waiting for it to maybe flip over. Hopefully flip over. Let's see if it'll flip over. I don't want to open widget right now. So we don't have, okay. I really don't want to do this right now. May I just have to go wireless for this show. Oh well, that was my fault for screwing that up. But real quick re-mention, just in case it got missed in the lag. Ask the Chief is something you can do now. It's a form you can fill out. Basically, it'll submit a question to me that I'll answer on the show. As you can see, that's me dragging along, going and hooking up stuff. So that's what you get with a live show, folks. That's what you get with a live show. Hopefully we don't have any more drop frames here. Hopefully the wire connection will help us keep connected a little bit. I did forget to connect that beforehand. Wireless is not as stable as wired. I should know that as a teacher of IT, but was trying to get stuff together before the show got started and forgot that. There we go. We flipped over to wired now. Finally got internet on that. Okay, let me make sure I didn't lose any frames. Successfully connected. Good deal. I'm going to fast forward that a little bit. Alright. So it looks like we're in good shape. Hopefully you guys can hear me just fine. So I might see if I can hear myself. Actually, I won't be able to hear myself. I got it muted. Alright. So there we go. That's done for now. I think that covers everything I want to cover. So let's talk a little bit about some rules changes that we've been discussing. The team and I have been kind of bantering about with the usage of superstar abilities. It's something that I'm not super familiar with, having come basically when I left Madden 20. Abilities had just jumped in Madden 20, so I didn't get a whole lot, and we didn't use abilities the little bit of time that WFL ran in Madden 20. So I have little to no experience with abilities. And the league I jumped back in on in Madden 22 did not use abilities either. So this has been my first serious experience with abilities. And because EA is so bad at making attributes distinguish players, I feel like superstar abilities and X Factor abilities are important, but they are very, very arcadey. I know they're arcadey. They're definitely not simulation based, but they're the only ways that you can legitimately have special players feel special, because EA does such a poor job at differentiating attributes. I mean, if you look at their spacing between, wide receivers and quarterbacks and things of that nature, just the difference in numerical values is so small, it's non-existent. So anyway, I personally feel like abilities, even though they are arcadey, are a necessary evil. But at the same time, I want to make sure that those abilities don't get manipulated to such a fashion where it becomes you're gaming the game and not putting in abilities that are realistic. Basically, I don't want this to turn into a mutt fest where everybody sets up the best abilities and just runs with the best abilities. That's not the way we're going to operate. So we've instituted a new rule set, which I added to the rule book actually this evening before I jumped on here. And I want to pull it up to show you where it is in the rule book. It is currently under Section 4 of the GM rules. I have actually posted a link to Section 4. For those of you that are interested in looking at that, it'll be in the description of this video. But let's get this browser window capture popped up here. Boom. There we go. And let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on that end. So let me see what it looks like on y'all's end. Okay, cool. So this is the main part I want to show off. You'll see it in red. It is in the GM rules, Section 4, right after position change requirements, which is something else that the leadership team and I will be looking at this off season, or this season as we go along, and as we get into the off season between Madden 22 and 23. But this is a rule we implemented fairly recently, and I feel like it's a good one. Now, there is some gaps because I still need to get with the leadership team. There are some abilities that I need to add to the list that I honestly, at the time of typing this at 9 o'clock at night, my time, I did not remember. And some of the leadership team were not available to answer it, which is fine. Everybody's got lives. So this will be getting modified a little bit and getting added what I want to add, but I want to show off what it looks like now, so that way nobody is questioning where these things come from. Uh, Again, it is in the rule book now. It's locked in. Superstar and X Factor abilities. Before, we were allowing changes to be made uh, at will, and after seeing that in action, even though it really didn't get put into play because of restarts, I didn't like where it was headed. So the leadership team and I got together and we kind of bantered about a system that helps keep the integrity of abilities in place, but it still allows a little bit of manipulation uh, in certain cases. So the first thing I want to state is the only thing you can change abilities on, whether they're superstar abilities or whether they're X Factor abilities, is if the ability is banned by WFL. Now, right now, to my memory, the only ability we currently have banned is the X Factor Gambler ability, which is only on, if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Rodgers. Now, Aaron Rodgers has already been edited in our franchise. He has been given the Pro Reads X Factor ability, which is, it's still overpowered ability, but it's not nearly to the effect of Gambler, which in a league where you don't allow switching makes it almost impossible to get the ball away from Aaron Rodgers if he gets into the zone. It's basically an AI manipulation of the highest order. It works in an arcade MUT style environment, and I understand what the team was thinking with it, but it's such an overpowered ability in a no switch league that we have to ban it. There could be additional superstar and X Factor abilities that get added to this ban list. And if you do have a player with that ability, it will get removed and changed out. So just be aware of that going forward. So keep an eye on this list. It could grow. So be aware of that. I want everybody to be aware of that going forward. This list could grow. Right now, I know of one, and I want to say there's at least one or two more we have discussed banning, but I don't think we actually put the ban hammer to it yet. I don't 100% remember. So that'll be something I'll be researching and getting with the leadership team over the next couple of days and make sure we finalize this list as much as we can in advance of Madden 23. So just be aware that some abilities may get added to this ban list, but for right now, there's only one on the list. The changes you can make to Superstar and X Factor abilities also come into play if the player is a new X Factor or new Superstar. When they come in as a Superstar, obviously they'll get some slots that they can add abilities to. If they are brand new to the role, obviously you will get your choice of what's available minus what's on the ban list. Obviously, if you are a new X Factor quarterback, you cannot choose Gambler as your X Factor ability. It is banned by the WFL. So any banned abilities will not be added to a player even if you request it. So period on that. The other thing that we've banned is if the ability is duplicated on another player on the team. There are some exceptions to that, and with all the restart franchise stuff we've done over the last 2 weeks, it feels like 3 months. I'm not entirely 100% sure what that list was. I want to say recuperation, one of the superstar abilities, was one that we allowed duplication on, but I know we have a lot of there's a few of them that we're allowing duplication on, but not many. And some of it's duplication where if it's on offense and on defense, we're allowing it. I want to get with the leadership team, though, make sure I get all the information right before I drop it in the rule book. So do be aware that that exception list obviously is empty now. It will be changing as we get through this week and the weekend. Hopefully by this weekend it'll get changed up, and we'll get that fixed up, and so that way you guys will have the up-to-date effects of Superstar and X Factor abilities. The leadership team and I, as I'm going to turn this off now to get back on camera, the leadership team and I are also talking about some other limitations as far as restrictions on certain traits, also certain dev traits. Nothing set in stone yet. It's all preliminary discussion, but we're talking about limiting some growth opportunities based on attributes and based on overalls. So I'll kind of leave it at that, leave it a little vague. And when we finalize anything, we'll announce it, and then on the next Chiefsman's Corner I'll go over it. Or if it warrants a sooner going over, I'll do like a quick breakdown video on it for the YouTube page. So just be aware of that going forward. We're working on some things behind the scenes a little bit to kind of make the it a more fair playing environment, to make it not as arcadey as what Madden is. Unfortunately, Madden is mostly an arcade game with some slight simulation elements, them being the 32 NFL teams and the NFLPA. That's pretty much it for simulation and playbooks. Maybe I'll give you playbooks. As far as the gameplay, it's pretty much an arcade game. It doesn't play like real life NFL. We all know that. We all deal with it. But we're going to work on putting some things in place to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand arcadey. Be aware that over the next couple of weeks and months, definitely going into Madden 23, we'll have some changes to the position change forms. Specifically one that I actually missed out on that some folks got grandfathered in on. We had made some changes to the halfback, changing to the halfback position to limit to limit the amount of wide receivers that could convert to halfback, because the leadership team, and to be fair, myself, who made that original position change chart, didn't really catch some of these things. But we did put some restrictions in on certain abilities or certain attributes being at a certain level. For example, short route running and medium route running, they were not added to the list when they should have been, and so we had a couple people convert legally. Now, I want to say that by our rules, it was legal. They should have been changed. They were overlooked by me. That's my fault. I dropped the ball, and I'm not going to punish anybody for capitalizing on a mistake I made. But going forward, there'll be more restrictions on the ability to change the halfback, and we're going to look at our position change chart in general and see if we can maybe tweak some things, whether it's adjusting some weights. And it's all going to be based on real-life NFL personnel, so we're going to try and make it to where you can make changes if they make sense, but not because it gives you a game advantage, meaning video game advantage. Something that makes sense from a personnel standpoint, from a logistics standpoint, things of that nature. We'll work on that, and we'll try and get a better chart out and more form around it, and then the forms will reflect the chart. So therefore, whenever you go through the form, it will be accurate, and whenever you get that position approved, you can make the change. So we'll work on that going forward. Some things I was quite happy about with this restart, or to be fair, 2 restarts, because on Friday we were in the middle of restart number 2, and then the draft glitched, and so we started restart number 3. This is number 3. I've already been through 2 restarts since the last Chiefsman's Corner. I want to say thank you to the league, though, from top to bottom, as far as leadership and from owners especially. Having to go through and get to that point and not just throw your hands up and say, F this, I'm done. And to come back like quickly full force and say, this is what we want to do. That is hugely optimistic for me personally. From the leadership side, that's really good to see that. I wasn't expecting that big of a turnout and that big of a jump, but you guys jumped in whole hog. We're like, look, we're in this, let's do this. And I was very pleased with how off-season regimen points went, how tiers as far as the incentive plan, because everybody, with the exception of our brand new Eagles owner, was at least minimum tier 2 to kind of reward you guys for going through the restart. And then some of you who had contributed content in the 14-week season we got in were awarded tier 1 status, and that include leadership. And that's something we'll see how activity is during the summer. I may try and keep that in for Madden 23 and let you guys hang that going into Madden 23. We'll see how it goes, because honestly, this has been it's been a hard restart, but you guys have stuck with it, so I feel like you should be rewarded for that in some form or fashion. Even though those incentive plans are normally for creating content and putting the league's best foot forward, I feel like you guys have put our best foot forward by being passionate about responding to our forums, passionate about meeting deadlines, passionate about jumping in as soon as we get stuff started and rolling, and passionate about scheduling and doing that stuff. So it is appreciated very much so. If not from anyone else in leadership, from me. Um, I think the other thing I want to say is we're gonna effort. I really, really want to get 2 seasons in, but at the same time, I really want to break too. I want us to kind of have a nice vacation from Madden 22 and kind of forget it existed before we hit Madden 23. And the only way we're going to do that is through some very, very tight scheduling. So please, if you're out of town, post it. Let folks know. Let your opponents know. Let the schedulers know you're going to be out of town. In that out of town channel we have. And I will state for the record that if you don't post by 36 hours, and there's no game scheduled in the last 36 hours of our 72-hour advances, we're just going to advance. Because we're going to have to make up a lot of time, a lot of games in a short amount of time, and the only way to do that is to have some quicker advances. I'm not a huge fan of quicker advances, but I do want to try and get 2 seasons in. I feel like you guys deserve 2 seasons. You gave us pretty much 1 already, but I want to get 2 legit seasons in if we can before we hang up Madden 22, and I feel like the only way we're going to do that is to really, really push the advance button. So just be aware that even if you dilly-dally, if we hit the 36-hour mark and you haven't posted, we're almost going to certainly probably not let you play your game unless it's just a playoff implication style game or something. Just be aware. I've put it on the schedulers for the WFL to pretty much push the envelope as far as if they're not scheduling, we're moving. If you're not scheduling, we're advancing. Basically, once we hit that 36-hour mark in the week, so like for example, week 1, our 36-hour mark hits at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Friday. So basically, at 10 a.m. Eastern on Friday, the schedulers and myself, if there's nothing that looks like it's on the docket for Friday night or Saturday morning, or Saturday evening, we're just going to advance. If you guys aren't putting in the effort in the first 36 hours, I understand life, I understand life happens, but we're trying to get this thing moving as quick as possible to give you guys at least 2 seasons worth of content in here. And like I said, we're just going to have to move. It's going to be a hustle bustle. Because again, personally speaking, and I feel like I might be speaking for a lot more than myself. I think Madden 22, once we put it down, is going to go down probably with Madden 21, Madden 20. The last couple of Maddens is God, I don't ever want to play that one again. Especially with all the bugs we've encountered in WFL in such a short period of time. We've managed to find a whole lot of bugs. I feel like we should be on the quality test team for EA if they had one, which we all know they don't. But we're gonna hustle. That's kind of the message for this podcast: is be ready to hustle. I'm trying not to ask too much of guys. I know summer's here. I know spring is here, I should say. Guys are we got baseball season coming up. Some guys are involved in baseball. We've had some guys leave us because of baseball season, and that's fine. That's no hard feelings at all because we started so late. And some of those guys are still in other leagues. Again, no hard feelings. We started late. I mean, I have no ill will towards anybody that's like, look, I have 6 seasons invested in this other league. I'm going to play there, but hang out with, keep me in touch for Madden 23. I'm cool with that. I really am. But I do appreciate the fact that at this stage we have 27 owners out of 32 that are connected in and plugged in. That blows my mind. I was expecting maybe half that number at this point, honestly. But to have that many folks ready to go and actually geared up and building a very, very solid core of folks that understand our rule set, have now been through a couple of different off seasons now. And hopefully understand some of our concepts, the 50% rule for re-signs, the RFA stuff, the off-season regimen seems like it's caught on pretty well. It seems like that's been a pretty popular thing that folks have liked, so I dig that. And then obviously the incentives this season, everybody had incentive plans just about except for one owner. I think they went pretty well. We'll do feedback forms. Maybe if we get to the end of this season, please let us get to the end of a season. I just want to see some playoffs. That's all. It's kind of like the Jim Moore quote: "Playoffs." I just want to see playoffs. I just want to see a WFL playoff. I know I'm not going to be in it. I just want to watch them. I want to see them. I want to enjoy them. And enjoy some draft content and enjoy some things like that, and actually maybe get through a draft that doesn't bugged. Can you tell them a little bit about the draft? I am. I really like draft shows, and to have it just flame out like that, just absolutely just the last little blood vessel right here, I think just went boom and just drove me nuts. Um, but this is probably going to be a shorter show. Let me pop and see. Yeah, I don't think I have anybody in chat, which is fine. This was not intended to be a long show tonight. I just kind of want to go over some of the new rules. I wanted to go over the Ask the Chief segment that we added for future shows, so that way, if you're not able to be here live like tonight, you can submit a question that I will answer on the show. Basically, read the question out loud, say who it's from, and kind of give a little answer based upon that. Maybe even do a little research live on show. Kind of gives you an opportunity to interact without actually being in the chat. Obviously, if you're in the chat, always welcome to drop a line. I'll bounce it in from here and there. And over the next couple of weeks, especially for me, once I get into May and kind of hit my stride as far as my summer, because for those of you that don't know, I teach at a community college, and the first week of May is our finals week. And so after May 5th, graduation, I have little to no collegiate responsibilities at that point for pretty much the entire summer. So some of the things I want to do during that summertime is definitely work on some WFL rules, but also work on learning OBS a little more because I'd like to eventually get to a point where I can have people call in and actually not have it blow up in my face like it did for the draft night, where nobody could hear me, but I could hear them, or vice versa. It was quite a frustrating experience to get that rolling live and have it flop miserably. That's something I got to learn and figure out. So I'm not the most experienced with OBS. I've got a little bit of passing knowledge, but I definitely need more, especially if we're going to do these pretty regular going forward, and especially if I end up getting a co-host or having a draft show with you guys. So that's sort of the game plan for me. Like I said, once I get into May, that'll be my focus, is to kind of learn the system especially for Madden 23. Maybe learn to add the chat at the bottom here, so it'll cycle through the bottom, so it'll pop up. Just some little things, some little tweaks to the show to make it a little bit more interactive for you guys, and make it easier for me from an admin standpoint, from a production standpoint, to be able to kind of monitor the show as it's going, make it a more interactive experience. But for now, I did add added the Ask the Chief segment, so I can have some questions potentially on air every week, and you can ask me pretty much anything. If I'll read the question beforehand, usually I check them out. If I've got any in the box, I'll usually check them out like 30 minutes before I go live and kind of see if they're appropriate or something I want to answer on air. If it's not, I'll probably DM you, but most of the questions I get are WFL related, so it's not a big deal. But I'll look them over, see if they're worth approaching on air. If they are, I'll mention you, like I said, and mention the question, and I'll give it a little answer if it's something I can answer or something I got to research, all that good stuff. We'll do that, and that's, like I said, another way for you to interact with the show if you can't be here live. If you're ever here live, awesome. Always appreciate folks. I do definitely appreciate on Friday night you guys carried me through that show, because I was really hot. I was really mad at that show, man. That not at the show, not at you guys, just at EA in general. That was just a mind-numbingly angering experience, and just I appreciate you guys kind of bearing with me and letting me kind of vent a little bit. The rant edition of Chiefsman's Corner, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. I've gone about 30 minutes, but again, we'll be back next Wednesday, hopefully with a little bit more structured show. That way, I'll have some content to actually talk about. We'll have a couple of weeks of gameplay under our belt, so I'll have some early season surprises, some flops, some players of the podcast would be nice. I hadn't done that in a few podcasts because I hadn't had any games to talk about because we kept restarting. But hopefully we'll kind of get back into more of a flow of talking WFL season content next Wednesday. But until next Wednesday, I'm Coach Winuvas of the New Orleans Saints, one of the commissioners of the WFL. And until 11 p.m. Eastern Time, next Wednesday, the corner's closed.